It's time to find out if our property tax valuations actually need to be protested. Are we just unhappy because they're high? Or are we justifiably unhappy because the property has been overvalued and we're being taxed on that overvalued amount? Welcome back for episode 2 of my Protesting Your Taxes series. Let's dig into some numbers and take a look at some properties. Today we're going to analyze 4 properties. We're going to look at their valuations, their actual probable valuations if they were to be put on the market versus their tax appraisal valuations, and we're going to see, are those in line with each other? Are there differences? If the tax appraisal valuations are too high, then we're going to look at probably protesting those. If the tax appraisal valuations are in line with what the properties are probably actually worth, then I really don't have a reason to protest those. I forgot. I'm Tracy Thomason with Exit Realty. I'm a realtor here in Lubbock, Texas, and we are talking about protesting taxes today. These are the first 2 houses that we're going to take a look at today. Property 1 and property 2 are within about a block of each other. They're in the same neighborhood, and so we're going to analyze these 2 properties together. And you can see here, they're both 3-bedroom, 2 full bath homes. They're around 1,220 square feet, similar size lots, built in the exact same year. In fact, most of that neighborhood was built in the same year, although not entirely. There are some differences, and we'll talk about those in a minute. And they're coming in at roughly the same appraised value. They're about $500 off from each other. Now we're going to take a look at the comparable sales in the neighborhood. These are the homes that have sold in that same neighborhood within the last 12 months. These 2 properties are in a neighborhood that is really not homogeneous as far as properties go. So some neighborhoods you'll have homes that were all built within the same few years. They're roughly the same size. They're built in the same style. This neighborhood's a little bit unusual in that while most of the homes in the neighborhood were built in the mid to late 70s, there were definitely some homes built in the mid to late 80s, and again, another spurt of homes were built in the 90s. And so it's not really homogeneous in the sense that all the homes within the boundaries of this neighborhood are that similar to each other. What I've done is I've narrowed the scope down. I narrowed it down to only homes that were built within about a 5-year span either direction. So from 74, so 69 to 79 were the limits on the homes, and I limited it to homes that were of roughly the same size. Both of those homes were around 1,220 square feet, so I went down to about 1,000 square feet and up to about 1,400 square feet. However, the homes in that neighborhood, there are a couple of homes that are below, that were sold within the last year, that are below 1,000 square feet, and there are several that were sold in the 1,600 square foot range. And so I've eliminated those because they're not as similar to the 2 homes that we're trying to analyze. Once we narrowed the list down, we've got 6 homes left. They range in value from $177,000 to $128,000. I went through and took a look at photos of all the homes that sold, and part of this data I was able to get because I am a realtor. So when you're looking for this data for yourself, contact your favorite realtor. If you don't have a favorite realtor, make me your favorite realtor, and I'll help you find the information that you need to find. I went through and took a look at photos of the homes to compare them to the homes that, or the 2 properties, 2 homes that we are analyzing today, property 1 and property 2. You can see these homes are all pretty close to the same size. The highest priced home is slightly larger, so it is, what's that, 94 square feet bigger than what the average of our 2 properties we're analyzing today is. So it's a little bit larger, but that doesn't account for all of the value. What accounts for the change in value of these homes, at least for the sales, is the homes have been improved. They've been updated. They've had new countertops, new flooring, new bathtubs put in, new tub surrounds. Value has been added to those homes through maintenance and upgrades that the homes on the lower end haven't had. So let's talk about a few things that are going to add value to a home when you start analyzing them and looking through photos of those homes. As we start going through these houses, keep in mind, I am not going to show you photos of the interiors of people's homes here in Lubbock, Texas. What I've done is I've looked at those photos, and then I went out and I found pictures through Google Images of homes that had similar features, similar cabinet styles, similar countertop styles, similar bathroom styles. I pulled those photos that could be found publicly, and I'm using those for comparison points. I'm not actually showing the interior of anyone's home in Lubbock, Texas, just so you know. The home was at the lower end of that list, in the $130,000, $128,000, in that price range. These homes had original 1970s countertops. These are homes that need a little bit of an update to be current with modern trends and to have a higher valuation. The homes at the highest end of this spectrum for this particular neighborhood have had new cabinets and new countertops put in. Sometimes it's just, Formica, a new updated Formica, but in other cases you've got some granite that's been placed in the homes. Once we start looking at the bathrooms, the homes at the lower end of the spectrum had some original countertops, maybe a little deterioration on the tile and the tub surround, or had some really sweet vintage blue tile in the house. Now, you may be into the vintage look, you may love that, but that's not what is generally garnering a higher price in the marketplace right now. The bathrooms that are causing the homes that they're in to have a higher valuation have been updated. They've had nice new tile put in. They've had new countertops and new cabinets put into the homes. And that's part of the upkeep and maintenance that is keeping those homes at the top of the price point for that neighborhood. We start looking at flooring, the homes with the more vintage flooring, or even this tile. This tile, I would say, is probably late 90s, early 2000s, but this is now a dated look. That tile is just, it's a little bit older now. It's not as old as, obviously, the green linoleum up here on the top. In fact, I am almost certain that my mom had that exact flooring in our house when I was growing up. To be fair, when I was in grade school, that would have been the 1970s when we had that flooring, and that would have been very trendy at the time. Not so much today, but at the time, very trendy. These are the types of floors that are going to be a little bit more trendy today and that are going to be in demand from the buyers. So these floors have been upgraded. That's going to add value to the house. It's going to add perceived value to the buyers who are coming in and purchasing the home. So they're willing to pay more for an updated floor over an older floor. So now let's talk about our two properties for a few moments and talk about what has been updated in them. Property number one has had quite a few updates done to it. It has new tub surrounds in both bathrooms. In fact, one of the bathrooms has been completely gutted and rebuilt, new flooring, new cabinetry, new countertops, new mirrors. The walls have been retextured. It has had everything changed out except for the bathtub. The other bathroom has a new tub surround, and the flooring was changed out in probably the early 90s, given the look of the linoleum. But the countertop and the cabinets in the bathroom, those are all still original 1970s. And so it's had a partial upgrade, but not a full upgrade. Then we start talking about the kitchen. The kitchen has not had any upgrades to it. It still has the original countertops. It has the original cabinets. It has new flooring. In fact, the whole flooring throughout the house has been changed out. There's been new carpet put in the house. There's been new vinyl plank put in the house. So it's had some upgrades, but not what I would consider to be fully upgraded at this point. Property number two, on the other hand, is pretty much original 1974. The kitchen countertops have been painted, but the bathrooms, those are all original. The countertops are original. The cabinets are original. The tile tub surrounds, which are buckling in some places, those are original. The floor in the living room and the bedrooms has been changed out to a vinyl plank, but the flooring in both bathrooms, the kitchen, dining room area, and the entry hall are all original 1970s. The house has just really had no updates other than a little bit of flooring has changed out. And I think that all that flooring was originally carpet. That's been torn out and a vinyl plank put down. The rest of the house is just original vintage 1970s. Looking back at our comparables, the houses at the very highest end of the price range had complete updates. Kitchens were updated, bathrooms were updated, flooring was updated. Everything had been changed out. Everything that could be changed out, besides maybe the walls, had been updated to a new modern look. The homes at the lowest end of the price range, they were all still pure 1970s in appearance. And of course, the houses that are right there in the middle, those had partial updates done to them. Given that information, and I'm looking at properties 1 and 2, property 1 has had partial updates done to it. It has pure 1970s kitchen, but the rest of the house has had a few updates done. To me, that puts it in about the middle of the pack. Property number 2, though, is almost straight out of the 70s with the exception of some paint on the walls. Those have been updated. The refrigerator has been updated, and I believe the stove was updated, although the stove was updated, it looks like in the 1990s. It's still older also. So if I were coming up with prices to try to sell these properties today, property number 1, I would think would be right in the middle of the pack. It came in at a $152,000 valuation from the Central Appraisal District. That's probably about right. That's probably right about what it would sell for today. Property number 2, however, it's straight out of the 70s as far as the appearance goes. I think you're looking at more like the 128, 130, but it came in at 153,000. What I think the Central Appraisal District has done here is I think they've taken the valuations for the neighborhood. They kind of picked a middle of the road valuation and they've probably applied it to everything. And property number 2 just does not carry the same value. It will one day when it's been updated, but right now it's probably more like $128,000 to $130,000. Given all of that, I will not be protesting the property valuation on property number 1, but I will most definitely be protesting the valuation on property number 2. Property number 3 is in a very homogeneous neighborhood. Every house in that neighborhood was built within about a 3-year time span. They are all roughly the same size. I think the average size in the neighborhood is a little closer to maybe 1,450 to 1,500 square feet. So this one's on the larger end of the spectrum. But all of the houses are, I would say, within about 1,350 to 1,750 square feet. So this is, like I said, at the higher end, but definitely within that range. And nearly every home in the neighborhood is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, just like property number 3 is. There's a couple of exceptions. So a few people have gone in and converted garages into bedrooms, making a 4th bedroom, or enclosed a back porch to get a little bit more space and maybe converted that into a bedroom. But in general, all of these homes are very, very similar. So let's take a look at the comparables. This neighborhood had a ton of sales in it. In fact, it had so many that I threw out a few oddballs just to narrow the scope of the properties. There were a couple of houses, again, like I said, that had had garages converted into bedrooms, so it had 4-bedroom, 2-bath. I went ahead and tossed those out. They weren't directly comparable to property number 3. And there were a couple of houses that were below 1,385 square feet. You can see the second property in the list is the smallest property that we're using for comparison purposes. Just like with property 1 and property 2, I went through the photos of these homes when they had sold, the listing photos that had been taken of them, and took a look. The homes at the highest end of the valuation, of course, those had the nicest finishes. They had new appliances, new cabinets, new countertops, new flooring put in. And the homes at the lower end of the valuation, they still looked a little bit like they were coming out of the 1970s or 1980s. They had not been updated in a while. These homes were built in the middle of the paneling craze that happened from the late 60s through the probably early 80s. A lot of these homes had paneling in them. The homes at the highest end of the spectrum, that paneling had been removed and walls retextured. The homes at the lower end of the paneling, or lower end of the spectrum, lower end of the paneling, those still had paneling in them and still had that darker paneling. And so you can start to see those price differentiations. Let's take a look at property number 3 again. Similar to property number 1 when we analyzed it, property number 3 is a partial upgrade home. It has had new flooring throughout. Both of the bathtubs the tub surrounds have been replaced with new, updated, modern looking. Both the flooring in both of those bathrooms have been replaced with modern looking tile. The kitchen cabinets have been updated. The kitchen countertops have been updated. Like I said, flooring throughout has been updated. Even some of the paneling has been removed and replaced with a more modern look. So this to me it's a middle of the road type upgrade. Coming in at $182,400, that puts it right in the middle of the pack, and I think that's probably a pretty fair valuation for the house. So I won't be protesting the valuation on property number 3. The valuation for property number 4 really concerns me. It's currently appraised at $215,000. Last year it was appraised at $165,000. It went up almost 31% in a single year. That seems like a huge jump to me, and especially given the condition of the property. This house was purchased less than a year ago. In fact, if you look at that list, it's the bottom property on the list. It was purchased for $172,500 less than a year ago, which was about right for the property. It needed a lot of upgrade. It's got problems on the exterior. Some of the wood is rotting and it needs to be replaced on the fascia. Both of the bathrooms are straight out of the 1960s, including one with some sweet blue tile in it. The flooring in the house has been replaced, but the kitchen cabinets and kitchen countertops, while were conservative for the time period, they were just sort of an off-white formica color. They've aged. It's no longer what I would consider to be a trendy or even modern look to it. The look and feel of this house certainly does not match those top 4 prices coming in at $235, $215, $210, and $205. In fact, the house doesn't even compare favorably to the $199,000 or $187,000 houses. It really is not worth $215,000 at this point. In fact, if someone gave me $215,000 for that house right now, I would probably sell it and buy a house that was in a little bit better condition. We plan on updating it. We just haven't had the time yet or the finances to do it. I certainly believe and hope it will be a $215,000 house at some point in time. I hope it's worth more than that by the time we get done with the renovations, but we haven't even gotten started on the renovations yet. I really believe this one, the appraisal has gone way too high. Again, like I said earlier, I think this is one of those, they valued the houses based on the middle of the pack. You can take a look at that and see the $215 price is probably in the middle of the pack for the neighborhood. This house has just been overvalued, and property number 4, I'll be protesting its valuation. I hope this video helped you understand how to value your home and determine, is it appropriately valued? It's very possible that the values in your home or your neighborhood have just gone up, and therefore the value of your home has gone up. And the tax appraisal district may be appraising the value of your house absolutely correctly. Because of that, it could be that your taxes have simply gone up. And while it's unfortunate that you're paying more taxes, hey, great news. Congratulations! The value of your home has gone up, and the tax appraisal may be appropriate. But if it's not appropriate, you need to protest that tax appraisal. In the next episode, you're going to watch me actually file the protest online. We're going to record all of that, see how the protest violation gets filed. That should be a pretty short video. And then the next video, I'm going to go through and gather all of the evidence necessary, that I believe is necessary, to protest this valuation when I speak in front of the Appraisal Review Board. See you back soon.